Hi, my name is Dr. Krista Welz, and today's session I will be presenting Team Building and Leadership, Student Version. A little about me. My name is Dr. Krista Welz. I am a library media specialist and STEM research honors teacher in North Bergen High School, New Jersey. I teach the STEM research honors course for 12th grade students. I have a doctoral degree, which is an EDD, in Educational Technology Leadership. I obtained that degree from New Jersey City University. I am also a Google Apps for Education certified trainer and coach, and I am an adjunct in the Literacy and Educational Technology departments at New Jersey City University. If you would like to discuss today's session or request any of the sources to use in your classroom, please email me at kristawells@gmail.com. I am also very active on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is @KristaWells. Please give me a follow or a shout out. So today's sessions, we're going to be discussing 3 activities you could use with your students. The first one is the minefield, the second one is marshmallow tower, and the third is ducks in a row. The first activity is called the minefield. About the activity. The game objective is to have students travel through the minefield with the help and trust of their classmate. What type of skills will be developed? Trust, communication, and planning. Take a look at these 2 pictures that I used with my 12th grade students. As you could see, I just took pieces of paper from newspapers or old discarded magazines or even newsletters, and I just crumpled them up and I just threw them on the floor in a very large space. This is the largest space that I have in my library media center. It is the entrance to the media center. So all you do is just take pieces of paper, scrumble them up, and strategically just place them on the floor. As you could see here, this is actually a magazine, and I just rolled it up and kind of just bent it. So this was actually not a piece of paper, it's just a magazine that's bent. This kind of serves as a border for the minefield. And again, these are just little pieces of paper. I put here, place 2 rolled up magazines to serve as the entrance and exit. So you could see over here, there's 1 rolled up newspaper or magazine, and here's another rolled up magazine. This is where the student first stands with their partner. This is the partner that is blindfolded, and this is the other partner that is telling the student, move left, move right, take 1 step back, take 1 step to the left, and so on. And this is the exit of the minefield. Note again, it is 2 rolled up magazines. And when the player safely escapes the minefield, he walks right through. The game objective. Landmines, which can be metaphorically said as obstacles, are metaphoric problems someone faces either personally or as a team. We can go through life trying to avoid the obstacles, but it's easier when we have help. How are you leading your partner blindly through a minefield? You also want to discuss with students, how are you at receiving help? Do you trust your partner enough to receive that help? And this I always like to show the students before we dig in and start playing the game, the minefield. A team is not a group of people who work together. A team is a group of people who trust each other. So again, these slides that I'm showing you, these are the slides that you would ultimately put on your slideshow or TV before the activity just to talk to the students and give them the aim, the goals, and objectives of the actual minefield game. Every moment of this activity provides ample opportunity to practice clear and precise communication. So again, communication is a very big, important factor in this activity. The challenge. So this is where you really want to have students pay attention. Your challenge is to travel through the minefield to the other side of the square. You'll be working in teams of 2, and you could change this if you would like. At the beginning of the game, everyone will start behind a line on the start side of the square. When traveling through the minefield, your eyes must be closed, which means your partner must lead you and guide you verbally. They cannot touch you in any way. It's only through verbal. They guide you verbally through the minefield, helping you avoid the obstacles, which are the landmines scattered on the floor. When the first person in your partnership makes it to the other side, he or she can open his or her eyes and the roles switch. Now that person becomes the lead and guides his or her partner verbally through the minefield from the start side to the end side. Okay, so here are the rules. And again, you could change the slide to whatever rules that you want. The rules that I used were no running or fast moving. You must enter and exit through the parallel lines on the floor. And those parallel lines, as you saw in the picture, were the 2 rolled up magazines. If anyone touches a landmine, which means that their shoe or sneaker touches the landmine, or the perimeter of the playing area, they must return to the start side and try again. The students may not alter the playing area, but the teacher can. Possible resetting of the minefield. The reason I put this in is because it's not really fair to the first 2 students that do this, because the other students are watching them and trying to strategically figure out how to get through the minefield in a fast way. So with every group that goes up, the teacher should, alter the minefield and move the mines around. I'm attempting to mimic real life in that things change and you could either adapt or complain. This is very similar to the book Who Moved My Cheese? So if you ever want to do this activity with your students, it would be a great thing to read Who Moved My Cheese first. The only thing that I would change in this activity once I played it with my students is many of the groups took very long. So some of them took 15 to 20 minutes, and it wasn't fair because then the rest of the students could not engage in the activity. So what I would suggest is putting a timer up on the screen and only allowing the groups to maybe engage in the minefield for perhaps 5 or 10 minutes and nothing more. Whoever gets the furthest wins. The next activity I'm going to talk about is engineering a marshmallow toothpick tower. This is the number 1 activity STEM or STEAM classes do as a group together. The essential questions of this activity. What is an engineer and what do they do? How do engineers build tall, freestanding structures that won't fall? These are the questions that you want to put up on your board for the students to think about before the activity. Once you ask the students about engineers and they give you their answers, you could show them this slide and ask the students to read out the responses. An engineer is a person who designs and builds a machine or structure. To do that, they have to engage in the design process. They review information they already know, think of ideas and imagine solutions, plan something to try, build it and test it, and then think about ways to improve it. So you could see here how I highlighted the design process. Review, think, imagine, plan, build, test, and improve. Through planning and designing models, engineers test different building materials and types of structural forms, which we will see in a bit, to see which will best accomplish their goal. So again, you really want to emphasize the engineering design process. The first one at the top is the ask, research, imagine, plan, create, test, and improve. You may also quiz students on the 7 steps of the engineering design process and the sequential order. Activity structure. So this is what you're going to put on the board as well. Step 1, become familiar with the building materials. Students will practice using marshmallows and toothpicks for a little bit by building 2-dimensional and then 3-dimensional shapes. So in this activity, I use marshmallows and toothpicks, but you could use marshmallows and spaghetti. Why? This will reinforce your knowledge of basic geometric shapes and get a sense of which shapes will stand best on their own. And I put a couple of photos on the slide so the students could, take a look and start getting ideas on how to build. I also then put up these basic geometric shapes, and these are 3-dimensional shapes known as tetrahedrons, cubes, and triangular prisms. Once the students start building these 3-dimensional shapes, they will start to realize which shapes retain their strength and hold better. Step 2. Which shapes do you think will be the strongest or most stable when you move on to build the tower? Students are going to test their theory by pressing down on the structures they have built to see if they last. Step 3, plan with your team before building the tower. This is very, very important, especially if you have teams simultaneously building them and whoever builds the highest freestanding tower wins. It's very difficult to practice if this is sort of a race. So make sure the team plans before they build a tower. Now, today's activity structure. Again, you could place this on the board. The challenge, build the tallest freestanding structure you can with, and then you could, give them as many marshmallows or as many toothpicks or even spaghetti as you want. This is all up to you. Make sure that you have a yardstick in your classroom so you could measure the tallest structure. Rules. Now I put on here, I used 120. I actually used the mini marshmallows and small toothpicks, but again, you could use large marshmallows and spaghetti if you would like. You could create groups and make sure each group has a set amount of marshmallows and a set amount of toothpicks. It's important to notice that you do not need to use all of them. If any of the materials break, including the toothpicks or spaghetti, and do not eat the marshmallows, they will not be replaced. Students may also not use tape, glue, or anything else to assist in the support of their structures. You may not look on your phone or Chromebook for ideas or help. So make sure students' computers are closed and that their phones are turned off or in an area where they cannot access them. And then you could give them how many minutes they have to build. I like to search on YouTube for lo-fi timers. This way the room is very relaxed with lo-fi beats and it has a nice relaxing picture on the screen. So if you go to YouTube and type in lo-fi timer, you can choose from an assortment. My favorite one is the 45-minute timer. If you take a look at this, it's very, very relaxing. Music is very relaxing, and I like to just put it in full screen mode. It's not loud, and you put it nice and smooth in the background so the students could work in teams and group, and it is a very relaxing lo-fi environment. When I engage with my students with the Marshmallow Tower Challenge, I tend to forget to do the reflection, or we just do not have time. But you always have to set time or the next day for a reflection. And these are the type of questions that your group should talk about after they built their marshmallow tower. Which approaches worked and which did not, and why? How was the winning group structure different? So everybody should look at the winnings group and take a look at the three-dimensional structures that they used. What strategies did each group use? Was there a team leader? Was there somebody who thought about the plans and somebody that built it? How did they work together as a team? And did you change strategies or your design during the building process? In other words, what worked and what didn't? And lastly, how would you build your tower differently next time? So again, reflection is always key in doing anything team-oriented. The last team leadership activity I would like to talk about is called Ducks in a Row. And this is decision-making processes during difficult situations. This is actually one of my favorite activities. The objective of this game is that it enables students to devise a 3 to 5 step decision-making process they can use when challenging leadership situations occur. Now, when you first show students this slide, they might get a little confused. So this is what we're going to do. The directions are pretty simple. Number 1, split the students up into pairs. It depends. If you have a very big class, you could split them up into maybe 3s or 4s, but if you have a smaller class, pairs always work well. Each group will choose 2 cards from the deck of cards, and I'm going to show you what the cards I use in a bit. Each card poses an Imagine This Scenario challenge, and students love playing with cards. I know we all did when we grew up as kids. These are the cards that we used, and I got these cards on Amazon.com, and I'm going to show you what I typed in to get the cards. In this deck of cards, there are Imagine This, and you could see here, Imagine This cards. You could see this one is, a nearby summer camp is hiring counselors. To you, it's the perfect job. You love working with kids and have great memories as a camper. Unfortunately, you've never been away from your family for 8 weeks straight, causing you to hesitate from applying. Your friends think you're silly for even considering it. They'll make twice the money working at a local coffee house. Your parents are encouraging you to try. What should you do? So that's a very deep, thoughtful question to think about. And then on the bottom, where it says, in a nutshell, when trying something new, how do you get past apprehensions or anxieties to seize opportunities? What factors help you decide whether to go for it? Now, these Imagine This cards, there are a variety of them. You could see here, different categories. Now, to get these cards, I went on Amazon and I typed in leadership cards. These particular cards are called Everyday Leadership Cards. You can get them on Amazon for $14. And they're really, really great. They're highly rated, and you could use them with middle school, high school, and even college and adult students. So the rest of the directions are, talk with your partner to come up with the steps you think an effective leader would take to manage and resolve each situation. And then again, I have at the bottom, you have 25 minutes to come up with your solutions. So if you have like a 40-minute period, you could change this to maybe 5 minutes. So this way every student has a chance to go up and voice their opinion. With your partner, present your leadership solutions to the class. Each group has to speak for 15 minutes. Now, they might be a little bit upset over that, but they'll have their partner or other classmates up there with them. And it's good to get the students to stand up for a while, because this is what leaders do when they present their solutions to any type of problem. You have to learn how to speak in front of a group. Now, the thing that I want to show you is I actually used a peer review leadership decision scoring rubric. And this was it. We used use of facts, text evidence, and real life experience. So you could support your evidence with real life experience. Organization. What about your arguments? Were they organized? Did they connect to the main idea or reason? So you have 1 to 4 points here. 4 points is the highest. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories for a score of 20. Understanding of the topic. Did they clearly understand what was being posed to them? How was their presentation style? Were they confident and enthusiastic? Did they make eye contact with the audience? And how was their tone and level of voice? And then reflection. Reflection is always good, because no matter what type of solution you have to a problem, it's always great to kind of like throw in your personal narrative or even a story that they tell the class. So relate your solution and correspond it with some sort of storytelling. Storytelling is another thing that you would want to go over your class. And then again, this is the Pomodoro timer with the lo-fi beats. And I set it to 30 minutes on the slide, and the students had, I think they had about 30 minutes to do it, because I had a 90-minute class with them. So they had 30 minutes to discuss all of their solutions with nice, relaxing music. Okay, so this is the end of the session. If you would like copies of each activity slideshow, and if it included a rubric, please email me at kristawelz@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of the conference.